Good morning. My name is Thay Kozen. Chu Ying, good to see you. And Wen Ming was here also. Good to see you both. I want to share a story with you from a temple in Japan many, many years ago. The temple was doing just fine. They had many monks there and they were studying and practicing meditation. They had lovely gardens they were growing. And a new monk arrived. And within a week or two after the new monk arrived, the other monks noticed that things went missing. There'd be a pencil case here and a fan here. And one person had a silver frame of his family that was a painting, and that disappeared. And the monks said, "What's going on? We've never had this before." And they were upset and angry, and they went around and looked in the whole temple, and they went through everybody's possessions, and they found that the new monk had all of the lost items stashed in a box by where he slept. Well, the monks were outraged, and they went to the teacher, the abbot there, and they said, this is an insult to us. If you're going to keep a person like that as here, we're all going to quit and leave. And the abbot said, well, let's just forgive him this time. Anyone can make a mistake. And the monk said, well, okay, I guess we'll do that. So things went along fine for a couple weeks, and then all of a sudden things started disappearing again. And after a couple weeks, 5 or 6 monks had lost little possessions. And they were outraged, and they said, we know who took them. And they went and they searched the new monk's possessions, and again they found all the lost items. Well, this was beyond acceptable, so they all marched off to the abbot, and they told the abbot, listen, either you get rid of this new monk or we're all leaving. We cannot live in a temple where things get taken. We cannot live with someone who steals things. And the abbot said, well, I will be sorry to see you all go, but here's the deal. We have someone with us who doesn't know better. They're still living in ignorance. And if I don't teach them, who will? All of the rest of you have learned this lesson, and you can do it well. But I have to work on the folks that don't do things well. And with that, all the monks had the realization that perhaps they're not quite as perfect as they thought they were. They accepted the new monk, and they just cautioned him not to take things. And the monk lived there for the rest of the time without stealing. And in our society today, at one time in the 50s and 60s, if a politician did something wrong, well, everybody was in an uproar and they had to resign. If you were in a community, let's say Jesus was in a community in Texas, and everybody in his town was Republican, and he went up and said, no, it's Democrats. The Democrats should win. Well, then people who were Republican would be upset with him. And today in Texas, you might even be just ostracized socially. And again and again and again, we tend to judge the whole world by what happens to us, rather than just looking at ignorance, desire, and anger. And I don't know what Jesus's or Jose's or anybody's political beliefs are, but we tend to fragment. And our job as Buddhists, for all the Dharma teachers in the room and all the other Buddhists, our job is not to condemn or think of things and come up with mental formations about how right or wrong anyone is, but to encourage people through kind and loving ways to live their best life. I want to pick on Tam a bit, if I could. Tam had a lovely, lovely fur child who passed away, and Tam was just devastated. And Tam was profoundly sad, and you could see it in her voice and her face. And she dearly loved this dog, and the dog dearly loved her. And then Tam looked around and she found 2 other dogs, not to replace her lost dogs, but 2 dogs to share life and love with. And if, well, there we go, another vicious attack puppy, yes. There we go, brother and sister. And what's happened with Tam, with that journey, she's become smiley, kind, and loving. Happy again. She was always kind, but happy again. And the journey of getting caught in our feelings, the journey of judgment. I had a woman come to the temple whose husband died 7 years ago, and she still was not over the death and cried almost every day. Because she held on to what she perceived as the wrongness of life. And everyone in this room has had times when we've held on to, this isn't right, this is bad, this is the wrongness. And once again, that goes back to the great second arrow. We can't stop falling, tripping, we can't stop getting old, we can't stop making mistakes. I certainly can't stop forgetting things and not liking beats. But what I can do is not carry mental formations when things aren't the way that I want them. Once again, that's the second arrow. So before you kick people out of your workplace or your life or anything else, I just ask you to remember the story of the abbot that said, if I don't teach this monk how to behave better and be happier in their life, who will? And I charge everyone in the group with being a teacher of compassion and Buddhist awareness that we all get caught in anger, desire, and ignorance. The second story is about a wonderful, wonderful monk who was a Catholic monk and lived on a tiny island right off of Italy. Well, this monk was old, sort of chubby, a little bit forgetful, not too bright, sort of like someone in the temple right now. And the bishop heard about it, and the people that went to the island church kept telling the bishop, you know, the monk forgets the prayers, he forgets how things are going, sometimes he forgets names, he gets confused, and I don't think he's a very good monk. And so the bishop went to the island and talked with the monk and said, you know, you have to do better. You have to remember how to say Mass, and for certainly the Lord's Prayer, and how to say the Rosary correctly. And he instructed the monk on how to do all of these ceremonies. And he spent about a week with the monk, and finally the bishop looked at the monk and said, if you don't do better, we will remove you. And the monk said, oh yes, I'm so sorry, I'll do better, I'll do better, I'll do better. I promise, I'll work really hard and do better. And so the bishop said, okay, so he went back down to the shore and got in a little rowboat and was having someone row him back to mainland Italy. And the monk thought about it, and he says, you know, I think I've forgotten how to do the rosary. So he went running after the archbishop as the archbishop was being rowed back to the mainland. And the monk, not having a boat, just ran across the top of the water. And he said, oh, your lordship, excuse me, I forgot how to say the rosary well. Could you help me with this? At which time the bishop turned around and looked at the monk and said, oh, my child, you have the heart of Christ's teachings. Don't worry about the little stuff. And I like that story, don't worry about the little stuff. To live your life from your heart, Maha Prajna Paramita, the great wisdom beyond wisdom. When in doubt, love more. Be kind and loving. His Holiness the Dalai Lama says, be kind whenever possible. And it's always possible. And that becomes our job as Buddhists. And so we have our Sangha meeting coming up, and we're going to be doing a lot of walking meditation. Mary Ellen, thank you for the shout out for the walking meditation. We're going to have actually 15 minutes of walking meditation after every class or service that we have. Just for Reverend Scott is the one who taught us that, about he'd be working on his computer, go get tea and come back, but he would go get tea in mindfulness meditation. Just those little breaks throughout the day. Thich Nhat Hanh does that at his temple, with the bell ringing ever so often, where everybody stops what they're doing and they become mindful for just that moment. And we're going to do that. The last part of what I want to tell everyone is when you enter a new Buddhist temple, or the first time of the morning, if you're physically able, do 3 bows on your knees with your head touching the floor. If you're old or disabled or just not feeling like it, at least do 3 bows from your waist, just waist bows bending forward. And when you come to the temple here, we're going to practice some of the normal rules that you'll encounter for when you go to other Buddhist temples. Now, this won't be universally true, but it is true at about 95% of all temples that you do that, especially with the Buddhist practice. The other thing I want to encourage you all to do is look around the room right now. And we have Darcy, and we have, I think it's John. Is he still here? I don't see him. We have several people that have had illness or sickness and recovery. So when anyone comes in the room that has an illness in your heart, look at them and think, oh, may you be well. May you be happy. May you know love. May you know peace. And just do the quick, very quick metta blessing for everyone. I know that a couple of people didn't announce it, but have healthcare problems going on right now. When Tam had lost her poor, lovely beastie, every time I saw her online, I did a metta practice, just quiet, and I can announce it also. But be active in your teaching. Be active in your practice. And that's my wisdom for today, just very simple. Remember that it is the great heart of wisdom. And lastly, for the upcoming Sangha retreat, we're going to have a raising the flower. That is when the Buddha was giving a talk with many monks. He held up a flower and he looked out at the monks and everybody just went, oh, what's he doing? What's that about? What's he doing? But one monk got it and smiled and just opened his heart and was so alive. And the Buddha said that's the first instance of heart-to-heart, mind-to-mind transmission of the Dharma. And so all the people who come to our Sangha retreat are going to be able to meet with several different teachers. And all the student teachers in here who are in our group who are not yet fully ordained are going to be able to sit in with some of those folks and watch what the senior teachers are doing. And I ask all the ordained people to also go sit in for Raising the Flower meeting with another fully ordained person, so that we all get to experience this great heart-to-heart, mind-to-mind transmission of the Dharma. And I'm excited. That's very rare to do it. And I tried to come up with an English word. In Japanese, it's dokusan. And there's a Chinese word for it. There's a Vietnamese word for it. But I tried to come up with what is the heart of English word. And it's raising the flower time. Heart-to-heart, mind-to-mind transmission. That's my wisdom for today. I hope that was not too disjointed for you all. But I wanted you to hear the story of the Catholic priest who got it. And I also wanted you to hear the role of Buddhists to help those that don't really get it. And we can do that best for our life. Shout out to Mark, Mark, I'm going to pick on you for just a second. Mark has been through severe PTSD, some severe chemical